In the meantime, this.
Thank you.
Yep, just like that. President Biden again refusing to take any questions about the Afghanistan crisis after his COVID speech. Mr. Biden being blasted for using the speech to slam COVID policies by Republican governors as thousands are trapped in Afghanistan. Let's bring back in our panel to weigh in on this. And Carl, I'll start with you on it. Your thoughts?
Well, clearly he's trying to shift the discussion. He's playing the shiny object game of politics, go out and attack governors on COVID, but not actually be held accountable for his own failings. As you know, we have a recall election out here in California, and Gavin Newsom was going to be unveiling a major ad by Joe Biden. Everyone was talking about the Biden ad is coming. Well, guess what? That ad was not released this week. And so I think even Democrats realize that Biden right now is in free fall. He is an absolute mess that he has put himself into and the country into. And he seems incapable of handling it. He doesn't seem to be able to pivot. He's tried COVID. And yet now he's out with this interview at ABC showing an absolute stunning level of callousness. This is a real crisis for the White House, and no diversion to COVID is going to save them from being held accountable on this issue.
Yeah, former President Trump joined our very own Greg Kelly to weigh in on all of this. Listen.
Well, it's inconceivable that anybody could be so incompetent, stupid, use any word you want to use, to imagine that you take out your military before you take out your U.S. citizens and civilians and others that maybe helped us. To even think of that it's not something that can be believed.
So, Amy, your thoughts on that?
Well, he's 100% correct. And we read his statement earlier where basically he would have done the complete opposite strategy of what the Biden administration has done by leaving so many Americans behind and the Afghans who assisted alongside our American troops. And it's devastating. And the other gentleman mentioned the word callous. It's not even just callous, but now we're even just seeing how insincere and really, I mean, how heartless the leaders are in this administration. And where is Kamala Harris? She's nowhere to be found as well. And I think that they are reading the polls, obviously, and that's why they haven't brought her out, because she's in a nosedive. And the fact that they tried to do COVID, thinking that this would be his saving grace, it was not, because what he has become really great at, if you've got to find something nice to say, is angering people. And that's not really a good characteristic, because you go from one, area of turmoil to the next, now telling us that we're going to have to take a booster after thousands and millions of us have already taken and felt like we were taken hostage by having to do this vaccination. This just further enrages the American public.
Yeah, and still just under emergency use authorization. I know everyone keeps hearing me repeat that, but that is the thing that gets me. Now they're talking about the booster shots. Derek, former President Trump also had some harsh words for the Taliban being allowed on social media after he and other conservatives are banned. Listen.
It's disgraceful when you think that you have killers and muggers and dictators and some horrible dictators and countries, and they're all on. But the President of the United States, who had hundreds of millions of people, by the way, he gets taken off. And as you know, we have a major lawsuit going. We filed it in Florida, and I think it's going to be very successful.
So, Derek, Taliban all over social media using this as an opportunity to recruit, sending out pictures of Taliban 2.0, their new and improved version. And then I was taking a look at those images of Kamala Harris and President Biden. We saw them together nonstop. But now, since this has all transpired, we haven't seen them together except for the picture they posted yesterday in the briefing room, everyone together, and she's there all of a sudden right beside President Biden.
Yeah, well, with respect to social media, it's very interesting. I think it's clear now that it's an ideological game with Twitter or Facebook or Instagram because they removed President Trump, but they kept the Taliban on. They kept, I believe it was the Chinese embassy who was talking about what they were doing to the Uyghurs over there. They kept them on, discussing how they were sterilizing the women. So I don't understand how terrorists are given the ability to talk about what they're doing to innocent people, but the president of the United States doesn't have a social media presence. And this goes along with people who have identified or tried to link January 6th with members of the Taliban. Now, we have actual Taliban members who rape and pillage and kill people who are expressing their ideas, their thoughts, and their beliefs, and that's okay. So I think there's a disconnect there. With respect to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, again, they're trying to script a lot of this, and I think they'd have to do a better job if they're going to script these kinds of speeches and not take questions from people who have questions that need to be asked and questions that need to be answered. But to have them together, they're identifying both of them with this failed leadership. And so there's not a lot of strong support for Kamala Harris in the Democrat Party anyway. Joe Biden is taking a significant hit. For the people in the center right, this is a very good thing. You link both of those people together, and I think there's going to be consequences not only in the midterms, but in 2024.
Yeah. Bob?
For those of our viewers, I always end up being the oldest person on these panels nowadays, but for some of our viewers, I don't think I'm alone in this. President feels a lot like Jimmy Carter. That era. Now, the economy's not as bad as it was back then, but the failure that he had in dealing with the hostage situation, and also when he sent helicopters to rescue those hostages, and at least one of them crashed and 8 service members died, you get that feeling at least on the international level that he's dealing with, and that's not a good thing. That's not where we want to be.
Yeah, Tehran, 1979, folks saying, this is more like that than Saigon. What was over 52 hostages taken in Tehran. We certainly hope that this does not become a hostage situation in Afghanistan.
That's another thing.
Very close to it, though, because we're trusting the Taliban.
I think the only thing we have going for us is they probably want us to leave so they can take firm control and kill everybody that was ever on the other side. So, okay, panel, stand by. Thank you so much.